The series begins in a village where people gathered to watch the trial of a criminal, one of the most notorious pirates named Roger, who was also known as the Golden Pirate. He was captured by a general named Garb, who served in the Navy, after a very long pursuit. General Garb looked at Roger and told him that the situation could have been resolved better and that he might not be executed. Roger smiled and said he needed someone to free him from the restraints because they hurt him. General Garb ignored his words and preparations were made to carry out the execution of Roger. Then a voice from the crowd asked Roger where his treasure was buried. Roger laughed mockingly and said that the treasure would not be found by anyone who didn't deserve it. Roger laughed again and told everyone that the treasure was in the sea, encouraging them to search for it. The crowd shouted Roger's name, and General Garb ordered the guards to execute Roger quickly because the people would cause chaos due to what Roger had said. Roger was executed, and because of what he said, the entire population turned into sea pirates in search of Roger's treasure. After 22 years, a young man was telling us the story of Roger the Golden Pirate. He was on a small boat in the sea when suddenly the boat started sinking, and he didn't know how to swim. So, the young man entered a barrel that was on the boat and sealed it shut. The barrel drifted in the water until it reached between two ships, which were engaged in a battle. There was a ship among them, a large ship called the Beta, and it belonged to pirates. It was wanted to be captured. Anyone who captures it gets 5 million pieces of gold. The Beta was a fierce woman who would seize any ship in front of her. The Beta's men found the barrel that had the young man inside and took him and placed him in the ship's storehouse. The Beta was looking for a man named Zorro because this man was a skilled fighter and stronger than her. People told her that this man would be the one to defeat her. She interrogated the hostages on her ship to find out Zorro's whereabouts, but the hostages didn't tell her anything. So, the wicked Beta struck them on their heads with her huge hammer. There was a young man named Kobe who cleaned the ship from the blood and went down to the storehouse to clean the Beta's hammer. Suddenly, he heard a sound from the barrel, and suddenly the young man appeared. His name was Luffy, who had been imprisoned in the barrel. Kobe told him not to make any noise so that no one would see him. Luffy said he was hungry and looking for food. Kobe told him that he didn't look like a pirate and wanted to know how he ended up on the ship. Kobe remembered when he was a little child and played in the village. He admired the pirate Shanks. But Shanks always warned Luffy about the dangerous pirate life. Luffy then took out a knife and cut his face to prove to Shanks that he could endure any pain and danger. Shanks sat, tending to Luffy's wounds, and told him that he could have injured his eyes. Shanks apologized to Luffy for scarring his face like that. Luffy assured him, "Shanks, I promise you that over time, you will see me as the most famous pirate on the seas." Now, let's return to Kobe and Luffy. Kobe wanted to help Luffy escape from the ship before anyone saw him, but unfortunately, the pirates heard them and were escaping. The Beta arrived and scolded Kobe harshly. Luffy told her not to speak to him like that because he wasn't her servant. Luffy informed her that Kobe had been saying she was fierce and that her snoring was annoying. This angered the Beta, and she tried to kill Kobe, but Luffy stepped in to save him. When the ship's crew fired at Luffy, something unexpected happened. The bullets bounced off him, revealing that Luffy had incredible powers in his rubbery body. Luffy set the entire ship on fire and transformed his hand into a massive fist, striking the Beta in her ugly face. Now, let's switch to a man with green hair, Zorro, whom the Beta was looking for. He was lighting a candle, surrounded by many lit candles. A man approached him from behind and said that he had been searching for him for a long time. He asked Zorro to join his crew, a crew that hunts pirates, because he knew Zorro was a skilled swordsman. However, Zorro told him that he had his own business to attend to. But the man insisted that Zorro would become a crucial member of their crew. Zorro replied that he would only accept if he became the #1 member of the crew, not just an important one. Became very annoyed and agitated by Zorro's words. He unsheathed his swords and began to challenge Zorro to a duel. Zorro was exceptionally skilled in sword fighting and was stronger than #7. Suddenly, Zorro split #7 into 2 halves. Now, let's go back to Kobe and Luffy, who managed to escape in a small boat from the burning ship. Kobe asked Luffy about his incredible rubbery power. Luffy explained that when he was a child, he found something strange looking in a box while searching for something for the pirate Shanks. He ate it, and it tasted delicious. Shanks was in a bar, and another pirate, who looked fierce, entered and asked for some wine. However, Shanks told him that the crew had drunk all the wine in the bar and gave him half a bottle, which the pirate didn't like, so he smashed the glass. Shanks, instead of fighting, grabbed a mop and started cleaning the floor because he didn't want to engage in a brawl with the pirate. Luffy witnessed this and was unhappy because Shanks had insulted his pride. However, Shanks told him that not every situation is resolved through violence and that there are times when you need to stay calm. As Luffy walked away in frustration, Shanks grabbed his hand, and a surprise occurred. Luffy's hand had become rubbery and extended due to him having eaten a devil fruit. Shanks realized this. This is why Luffy became a person with rubber-like abilities. Now, let's go back to Luffy and Kobe. Luffy asked Kobe what he wanted to become when he grew up, and Kobe said he wanted to become a marine soldier. Luffy slapped him in the face and told him not to say that he couldn't achieve his dream. If you have a dream, you must strive to make it come true. Then, the two of them arrived in a city called Shell's Town, which was a gathering place for soldiers. They stood in front of a wall that had a sign that read, "Wanted, Capture Pirates." Luffy wished that his picture was the one on the wall because he wanted to become a great pirate. Kobe and Luffy went to a restaurant because they were hungry. A girl approached a marine soldier who was in the bar and asked him to buy her a drink. The pirate Zoro entered the bar, carrying a coffin with the remains of number 7, whom he had defeated. A little girl approached Zoro, carrying a plate of meatballs, and smiled at him, offering some. However, a man accidentally knocked the plate from her hands and stepped on it. Zoro knelt down and ate the meat that had fallen on the ground. Zoro took a piece of meat from the ground and offered it to the man, but the man refused, questioning Zoro's identity. The man introduced himself as Helmeppo, the son of the Marine Fleet Admiral. He drew his sword and declared that he had to kill Zoro for the humiliation he had caused him. Zoro, however, defended himself, and other soldiers joined the fight. Zoro used his sword to defend himself. Luffy watched the battle in amazement. During the fight, a girl named Naomi, who had been sitting with the marine soldier, secretly pulled him away as he had lost consciousness, and no one noticed. After the battle, Zoro went to Helmeppo, who was crying and pleading not to be killed. Helmeppo told Zoro that his father, Morgan, would pay him the money he wanted. Zoro accompanied Helmeppo to Morgan to collect the money. Morgan was a strong and intimidating man with an iron piece replacing his hand. Morgan looked at Zoro and said that he wouldn't give him any money but would punish him for what he did to his son. Helmeppo tried to speak to his father, but he was thrown aside. Morgan then told Zoro that he needed him in the Marines, but Zoro refused. Morgan threatened to tie him to a pole in the sun until he agreed to join them or died. Now, let's look at Luffy, who was sitting with Kobe, pondering how he could recruit Zoro and work together. The next day, we see Zoro tied to a wooden structure. Helmeppo approached with one of Zoro's swords, infuriating him. Zoro told Helmeppo that as soon as he freed himself, he would be the first to die. Helmeppo conveyed to Zoro that his father would never let him harm him. We see Naomi dressed in the soldier's attire, entering with a platoon into the fortress of the Marine Corps. All she wants is to become the greatest swordsman in the world. Luffy responds, telling her that he's still waiting for her to join him anytime. Luffy exits through a tunnel next to Zoro and intends to enter the fortress to see Zoro. We see Naomi searching for the map to the treasure, and the soldier she had beaten before notices her. He realizes she's a thief and attacks her. Naomi proves to be very skilled in combat, and she manages to make the soldier lose consciousness. At this moment, Luffy enters and knows that she's a thief but tells her he just wants the map. She reveals she also wants the map. Naomi goes with Luffy to search for the map together. Suddenly, Helmeppo appears in front of them. Naomi is forced to tell Helmeppo that she's here at the base because she had captured Luffy, who was sneaking around. Naomi takes Luffy, claiming she caught him, to steal the keys to Morgan's office. They go to search for the map. We see Zoro, who is heading towards Helmeppo, naked, playing with his sword. He takes the sword from him. Now we return to Luffy and Naomi, who are searching for the treasure map. By chance, Luffy presses a spot, revealing a hidden safe containing the map. Morgan discovers that the two are thieves and enters the scene. Luffy realizes he can take the safe with the map in his hand and extends Naomi's arm to reach it. He takes the safe and flies away with it through the ceiling. There are soldiers waiting to kill them, but Naomi and Luffy manage to engage them in sword fights. By chance, Zoro is nearby and sees them fighting the soldiers, so he joins the battle as well. Zoro does this as a way to repay the favor because Luffy saved him and freed him from the ropes he was tied with. Morgan sees them fighting the soldiers and takes his sword. He and Zoro engage in a massive battle. Naomi fights the soldiers, while Luffy and Zoro take on Morgan together. There is great synergy between them in combat. Zoro fights with 3 swords, 2 in his hands and 1 in his mouth, displaying incredible skill to the point where Morgan cannot defeat him. Naomi, Luffy, and Zoro manage to defeat Morgan and take the chest with the map inside. They escape on a ship. Suddenly, they encounter Helmeppo ahead of them, wielding 2 pistols and threatening them. Kobe arrives from behind and knocks him out, saving them. Kobe bids farewell to Luffy, telling him he will become a marine, and the next time they meet, they will be enemies. However, Luffy insists that they are still friends. General Garp, a senior figure, realizes that the chest with the map has been stolen and decides to handle the matter himself. We see Naomi trying to open the chest, and Luffy enters, inside of which there's a treasure map. She takes the map and can explain it to AFI and Zoro. She tells them all the details of the map. In the meantime, they hear very loud noises and explosions. They go out to discover what's happening, and it's a very large pirate ship. They throw a gas bomb at them, and Luffy thinks of a way to protect the map. Luffy manages to swallow the map before losing consciousness. They lose consciousness and wake up imprisoned, with all their belongings gone. Nami says they lost the most important thing, the map. But Luffy reassures her, points to his stomach, and tells her the map is safe. The walls of the place they're trapped in open, and they find themselves in a circus. The pirate who kidnapped them is named Baji. Baji teases Luffy because his nose looks like a big clown's nose and it's red. Pirate Baji gets angry with Luffy and asks them for the treasure map they stole. Nami comes up with a plan to escape, takes Luffy's hat, throws it in the air, and Luffy extends his rubber hand and catches it. When Pirate Baji sees this, he's amazed and realizes that Luffy ate the devil fruit. Nami manages to escape from them and finds the city in ruins. He prepares a crazy show specifically for Luffy. He takes Luffy, ties his arms and legs, and tightens them hard. Luffy is happy about this. He takes Luffy's hat and tells him that the hat used to belong to someone he knows, Shanks, and Pirate Baji hates Shanks. Pirate Baji takes a small child from the audience and wants to tie him up like Luffy. Luffy manages to free himself, saves the little child, and cuts off Pirate Baji's head. But Pirate Baji's head flies back to its place. Then Luffy realizes that Pirate Baji ate the devil fruit, and his power is splitting. Baji's hand reaches a sleeping gas bomb near Luffy and hits it, causing Luffy to lose consciousness. We go back to Zoro and Nami, who are trying to free themselves from the ropes. Nami manages to free herself from the cage, goes to free Zoro, and hits the person standing nearby. They go to rescue Luffy. We go back to the past events of Luffy, and we learn that Shanks humiliated himself to save the little boy from the pirate. When the pirate took Luffy with him, a big monster appeared, but Shanks saved him with his magical power by looking at the monster, and the monster got scared. We return to the present, and Baji has trapped Luffy in a glass box filled with seawater. Baji looks behind him and sees Nami and Zoro. The glass box that Luffy was trapped in breaks. Luffy falls to the ground, and because he drank a lot of seawater, he vomits the map. Baji quickly grabs the map, and a sword battle ensues between him and Zoro. Zoro tries to cut Baji with his sword, but each time, Baji's body reforms. Luffy comes up with an idea. They should take every part of Baji and lock it in a box. They execute their plan successfully and thus manage to get rid of Baji. And Luffy went and freed all the prisoners, thanking all the people in the city and bidding them farewell. They all boarded the ship, and Zoro told Luffy that the journey wouldn't be easy, the mission is challenging. Luffy, full of excitement, responded that the path had to be difficult for them to reach their goal. He mentioned that the last journey undertaken by the pirate Shanks was in search of the treasure. Before leaving, Shanks bid him farewell and gave him his hat, making it valuable to Luffy. Then, we see General Jerub punishing General Morgan for Luffy and Zoro stealing the map. General Jerub assembles a large army to chase those who stole the map, and he recruits Kobe and Helmeppo into his army. They head back to the ship, and Luffy prepares the pirate flag to hoist it on the ship. However, Nami refuses and states that she won't be part of the pirates. They arrive at the ship where General Jerub is stationed, and Hamburg Hit attempts to tie a rope to the ship but fails. Kobe offers to help, but Hamburg Hit refuses, leading to an argument between them. General Jerub notices them and reprimands Hamburg Hit, taking Kobe with him into the ship's office. We see Luffy and his friends still in the city, looking for a suitable ship for them. Afterward, we see Baji after he's freed his body parts from the boxes. A half-man, half-shark person approaches him. The shark man tells Baji that Pirate Arnold is looking for him, but Baji mocks him. This leads to a fight, and the shark man knocks Baji unconscious. We return to Luffy and his friends who are still in the market, searching for a ship. Nami suggests stealing a ship, but Luffy insists on acquiring one legally. Luffy spots a ship that impresses him, and he's introduced to the ship's owner, Yasaku, who is cleaning it. Yasaku tells Luffy that he wants to buy the ship. Yasaku then takes Luffy and his friends to a large mansion and introduces them to Kaya, the ship's owner. The people working in Kaya's mansion seem to dislike Yasaku. Kaya comes out and welcomes Luffy and his friends, happy to be in their company. We return to General Jerub, who has managed to locate Luffy, whom he calls the Straw Hat Pirate. Kobe is made the leader of the soldiers who will capture the Straw Hat Pirate. Back at the mansion, Luffy and his friends are enjoying a meal with Kaya. Kaya's butler, Mary, brings them new clothes. We learn that Mary has taken care of Kaya since her parents passed away. We then see the mansion's servants preparing some peculiar blue-colored food. One of the servants is scolded for not hiding the food properly, and he is told that he could lose his life. We return to the party at Kaya's mansion, where Luffy is hungry and goes off to find food. Zoro, too, is searching for food in the mansion. At the same time, Nami is exploring the mansion to steal some items. She enters Kaya's room and discovers that Kaya is aware of her thieving activities but wants to talk to her. They become friends, and Nami sympathizes with Kaya, who is sick and an orphan. Luffy, Yasaku, and Zoro gathered in the kitchen. Luffy searched for food and found poisoned food, which he ate entirely. As Yasaku was walking through the mansion, he stumbled in his search, and Zoro helped him to his feet. Suddenly, Buggy appeared with his sharp claws. We learned that he's the leader of the Black Cat Pirates. Buggy managed to overpower Zoro due to his strength and the presence of his subordinates. They captured Zoro and threw him, along with Mary, far away from the mansion. Yasaku managed to escape and went to the townsfolk to inform them that there are pirates in the city. However, the townspeople didn't believe him, as Yasaku had a reputation for lying since childhood. We also learned that Yasaku's father was a pirate who went on a journey and never returned, leaving Yasaku to live with his mother. Kobe met Yasaku and expressed his belief in the existence of pirates, offering to help. At the same time, Zoro woke up at the bottom of a deep well and remembered his past. We discovered that in the past, Zoro was an unsuccessful sword fighter. He used to be taunted by a girl named Kuina who always beat him. Zoro resented her and challenged her to a duel with real swords. However, Zoro failed once again in the sword fight with Kuina, and she told him she'd wait until he's bigger and stronger to fight her. They agreed that one of them must become the greatest swordsman in the world. But one day, Zoro's teacher delivered the sad news that Kuina had died in a severe duel. Zoro decided to become the world's greatest swordsman in her memory. He kept one of her swords as his third sword. Zoro managed to gather his strength and climbed out of the well, heading back to the mansion. He found the guards and Buggy waiting for him. A sword battle ensued between Zoro and the guards. Meanwhile, Luffy confronted Buggy, but he initially struggled. Luffy mentioned that he had consumed a lot of wine that night. A fierce sword battle erupted between Zoro and the guards, while Luffy faced off against Buggy. Luffy witnessed Buggy and recognized him, knowing his reputation. The surprise for everyone was that Django was actually Luffy's grandfather. He told his friends that his grandfather, Django, had been training him to become a marine. However, Luffy always refused and insisted on becoming a pirate. General Django realized that the person on the ship flying the Jolly Roger was his grandson, Luffy. He requested that Luffy surrender peacefully, but Luffy refused, infuriating his grandfather. Django picked up a cannonball and threw it at Luffy. Luffy inflated himself and repelled the cannonball, causing it to hit the general's ship. This allowed Luffy to escape on his own ship. None of the crew understood what had happened. Zoro approached Luffy to inquire about his relationship with Django, but Luffy refused to talk about it. As they sailed, they encountered thick fog, and Luffy smelled food. He followed the scent until they reached another ship, a mobile restaurant. They all disembarked and went to the dining area of the other ship. There, they met a chef named Sanji, who was working in the kitchen. However, his boss considered him a failure and made him a waiter on the ship. Sanji approached Luffy and his friends to take their food orders but was captivated by Nami and spoke to her charmingly, which made the others laugh. We then see General Django, still resentful of Luffy's escape, seeking the help of a pirate named Mihawk. Mihawk is one of the 7 warlords of the sea, incredibly powerful pirates who have made agreements with the government to assist them when needed. Django asked Mihawk for help in capturing Luffy and described him as a boy wearing a straw hat. We return to Luffy and Sanji. Sanji presented them with the bill, but Luffy told him that he would pay again because he would soon become the greatest pirate. However, this angered Sanji, who didn't like the idea of Luffy becoming the greatest pirate and still refused to clean the kitchen. Luffy went to clean, and his friends enjoyed themselves on the ship. Pirate Mihawk arrived and overheard them talking about Luffy. He inquired about him. Zoro recognized Mihawk and knew who he was, understanding that he was the greatest swordsman in the world. Zoro asked to fight him, and Nami objected because she was concerned for Zoro's safety. Mihawk agreed to a duel with Zoro and set a date for the next day at the harbor. When Luffy learned of this, he encouraged Zoro to accept the challenge and fulfill his dream. The next day arrived, and Luffy saw Mihawk, who remarked that he had expected a mature man, not a young boy. Mihawk prepared to fight Zoro and confidently faced him with a small knife. Indeed, Mihawk managed to overpower Zoro and stabbed him with the knife, although it was not a fatal wound. Mihawk realized that Zoro was a brave person with strong determination. He unsheathed his giant sword and decided to engage in a real battle with him. With the first strike, Zoro's swords were shattered. So, Zoro chooses to surrender to protect Kuina's sword and asks Mihawk to strike him and finish him off. Mihawk delivers a powerful blow but only wounds him and refuses to kill Zoro. He also refuses to capture Luffy and simply walks away. Luffy goes to Zoro and assures him that everything will be okay. Mihawk advises Luffy that Zoro needs extensive training and they should have a rematch in the future. Luffy takes Zoro to the ship, Zeph, for treatment. Zeph asks Sanji for fresh fish, alcohol, thread, and knives. Zeph slices the fish and uses its skin to treat Zoro's wound after stitching it up, as it helps in wound healing. Meanwhile, General Django and Mihawk discuss Luffy's determination and his quest for treasure. General Django becomes increasingly violent and frustrated, even breaking things in his office. Luffy sits with Usopp and Sanji and notices Sanji's deep interest in food. He asks about Sanji's family and learns that when he was young, Sanji worked as an assistant chef on a luxurious ship. However, the pirate Zeph, known as the Red Leg, attacked the ship. Sanji tried to hide from Zeph, but he found him, and a storm caused both of them to end up on a distant island together. Zeph and Sanji survived on the island, but the ship and its crew sank. Zeph saved Sanji, but they had limited food, so Sanji eventually decided to cut off his own leg to sustain himself, a testament to his will to survive. A ship arrives, saving Zeph and Sanji. Sanji decides to accompany Zeph and become a cook, believing he owes his life to him. Arnold informs Luffy about the location, and he goes to see him, requesting a meal. During this time, Luffy doesn't appear, and Arnold threatens to kill everyone on the ship if he doesn't show up. Nami overhears this and leaves to find Luffy. Luffy, on the other hand, goes to confront Arnold and find out why he wants him dead. It's revealed that Arnold learned Luffy's location from Buggy, and that Nami had been spying on them the whole time. A battle between Zeph, Arnold, and his men takes place. Arnold proves to be a formidable opponent. Sanji tries to defend Zeph but is overpowered and injured. Luffy intends to defeat Arnold, but he's no match for him. Arnold is about to kill Luffy when Nami intervenes, stating that their mission is complete, and there's no need to kill anyone. Luffy learns that Nami was a member of Arnold's crew and had been deceiving them to obtain the map. Arnold throws Luffy into the sea, but Sanji rescues him. Sanji returns to the ship, which has been badly damaged, and begins cleaning it. Zeph tells Luffy that he should leave him behind and move on with his journey, as he owes him nothing. Luffy goes to Zoro, who is still recovering, and shares what happened with Nami and Arnold. Zoro insists that before they judge Nami, they need to understand why she betrayed them. He promises to stay by Luffy's side until they find the One Piece or until they both die, solidifying their bond as pirates. They prepare the ship, and Sanji decides to join them, officially becoming a member of the crew. They plan to go to Nami to retrieve the map and find out why she betrayed them, while Luffy is determined to save her from Arnold's influence.